Alright, let's work with buttons. Buttons are a new type of symbol. You might have already realized that when you've been making your own symbols. But if you haven't, let's go ahead and make one. Let's go up here to Insert New Symbol and give it a name here. My first button. Okay. And the type will be, instead of movie clip or graphic, we'll use type button. And say OK. So sure enough, it takes us into the symbol editing mode, and you can see we're up here in scene 1, my first button. So we're away from the main stage. Second thing you'll notice is that over here in the library, the icon next to the my first button has a different picture, and it's a little finger pushing down on a button, appropriate. And then the other thing you'll notice is that over here in the timeline we have not numbers, but these 4 different states that the button can be set to. There's an up state, an over state, a down state, and a hit state. Now the up here has a blank keyframe in it. The other ones do not have blank keyframes in them, so we can't do anything. We can't even scrub the slider over. It's just stuck here on up. So let's go ahead and just put something in here. Alright, sure enough it shows up here in the library preview as we edit it. And let's go back to the scene, which is blank. And let's drag an instance of my first button out into the stage. And really that's about it. It's not too thrilling. This looks like any other symbol that we could drag out into the stage. But watch what happens when we test this. So Command Return to Swift it. And also not very much happening. But watch what happens when I move my mouse over the blue area. It turns into a little hand. And so it reads this as being something that is hot or responding to user feedback. So we get that visual feedback of the cursor turning into a finger to let us know that something is going on. Now this is really, you guys might not even think about this. This is just behavior that we expect nowadays because we've used computers so much, but it's good to think back that that was not always the case, that was something that had to be designed, this idea of how does a user know that they're affecting the computer. And this, just that simple visual switch from an arrow cursor to a finger cursor does that. Just another thing to point out, that notice if I move my cursor into this area where there's no blue, it does not change. It's only when we're actually on the blue itself that it changes. So as I come in over here, nothing, 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 nothing. Oh, there it goes. So that's important to understand. And then it'll actually give us a good place to start if we want to change what's called the hit state of the button. And hit defines which area is hot, so to speak. And by default, it just extends the keyframe over to the hit state. So let's close that out. Go back, my first button. So it just takes whatever we've got here and just uses it for the hit state. But I'm going to go and I'm going to right-click on the hit frame, and I'm going to say Insert Blank Keyframe. So it pulls those over, and then I'm going to turn on my onion skinning so that I can see what I've got here. And I'm going to make I could make a box, but since I'm an art guy, I'm just going to go ahead and draw a box over this. And I'm going to fill it up. K is the shortcut for the bucket tool. And there we go. Now, whatever I put in the hit state, it's important to understand that it will never, ever be seen by the audience. It could be any color, it could say, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. The audience will never, ever see this. It's just purely there as a map to define the hot area of the button. So I'll leave this up here, and you'll see that we can have this weird invisible rollover up here. So, and this area here basically corresponds to the space that our yay is taking up. So let's go back to the scene and test the movie again, Command Return. And so now the first thing we'll notice is that when I go over here into the white area, it now turns hot. So it reads this whole area basically here as a button. This is the whole hot area. So I don't have to click exactly on these thin little spindly things, which you may or may not want as the programmer or as the designer. I mean, that can be really irritating to people if they have to click on some really tiny thing, if they're used to being able to click in a larger space. But then check this out. We wrote "You suck" up here. As I kind of scroll around, it's picking up on all the little letters that are a part of that "You suck," but it's invisible. So close that out. Just to illustrate that point one more time, go back. Let's get rid of this whole thing. And I'll just do something out here. Maybe I'll make just a big old box out around this. Fill that up. So now everything but the yay is going to be hot on this button. So go back to the scene and test the movie. And out here, nothing's hot in here, including the blue, but everything out here is hot. So the hit state, just to repeat, is always invisible, and you could use any color you want, whatever you want in there. The audience will never see it. It's purely to define anything that's solid will be hot in the button.